Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'll be sharing with you 3 ways to heal past memories. I believe this video can transform the way that you look about the story that you tell yourself and helping you give a profound difference to the power that you give to the past so that you can ultimately become the person that you prefer to be. Now, the underlying basis of this video is understanding this idea that I want to share with you about neuroscience. And what neuroscience has come to show is that anytime that we are thinking of something that happened in the past, what we do is in that moment, we take the memory from the past out of the memory bank. We then look at it again, and then we slightly change the memory before we put it back into the memory bank for future use. Now, the importance of understanding this is knowing that the memory of what actually really happened gets skewed every time that we pull it out of the memory bank and we look at it. Now, the importance of knowing this is that we can then see that the story, the perception around that memory that we develop over and over again continues to skew what actually happened, and then what happens is in the present moment that pattern can then have projected power over us in the future because it's a pattern that we keep practicing every time we think about it, and the way that we feel about that is going to affect what happens in the future. Now, the idea behind this is that the story that we tell ourselves is the most important thing that we can learn to let go of, because when we let go of that story that's combined around that memory of what happened, that's when the emotional charge goes away, and then we can actually be who we prefer to be. Now, the first one is forgiveness. Now, forgiveness for me was one of the trigger points to where I was really able to let go of the power that the past had over me. And in order to really forgive, realize this isn't just about forgiving the other person of someone that may have done you wrong. It's also about forgiving yourself. Sometimes we can be the most hard on ourselves. We can beat ourselves up for something happening and ask the question, why me? Or, I was thinking we should have done and regret. We should have done something different than what we did. Realize that it's also about forgiving ourselves as much as it is about forgiving the other person. Now, the charge from any memory that we have, the emotional charge we have, we can let go of by simply forgiving the situation, the other person, and ourselves. Now, let me give you an example of how I use this. Between the ages of when I was 9 to about 15, I had an ex-stepmom that was in my life during that period of my life. And she was someone that was very disciplined, like she had a very strict discipline type mentality. She was a very angry person, and there were certain things that happened that just made it so that when we came out of it, and even when we were in it, me and my brother, who were in it together, we went through so much pain from it. And after that happened and the divorce happened when I turned 15, I had to learn how to forgive her for everything, to really let go of the emotion. Now, years later was when I really learned a lot of this information. So up until that point, this is when I was really able to let go of that pattern. But realize anytime we have an emotion or a grudge against someone else, we are holding on to that pattern, and therefore we are much more likely in the future to create more situations of it, since it will resonate with those different type of experiences. So the way that I had to learn how to forgive, and this is something that you can do for any situation, is realize that anytime someone does something to you, they are doing it from a rationalized point of view. Meaning, it's probably the way that they grew up, it's probably something that they learned from someone else, it's probably some limiting belief they have that makes them think that they have to do it. Now, the reason this makes it easier is the idea is that we don't understand what someone else goes through, and that being said, it makes it easier to look at them and see that they're doing it from a rationalized point of view. Now, when I look at her, I can see that her dad probably treated her the same way. I can see that that's how she grew up. She believes in some type of needing that power over somebody else, and because of that, that's why she is the way that she is. Now, I've had to learn to see it from that point of view, and the moment I did that was the moment I let go of all that negative emotion. It's the moment that I could then really move on from that point of view. Now, you can use this for the purpose of maybe somebody steals from you. Maybe it's a friend that stole from you. You can see, and it might be hard at first to forgive that person, but what you can eventually see is that if they stole from you, they did it from a point of view of feeling lack. They did it from a point of view of not feeling like they had enough, feeling powerless. And when you start to see it from that point of view, not like you're judging them, but you can start to understand them more. And that's a powerful quote from, I think, Stephen Covey, is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So when you come at it from that point of view, the forgiveness becomes much easier to have. Then you let go of that charge so that you can be who you prefer to be. The second one has to do with taking a lesson from whatever experience it was. Now, we can learn from everything, and it's actually one of my favorite quotes from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He talks about, with every negative situation is a seed of opportunity for something positive to happen. That's not verbatim, but that's the general idea. And the idea is that when we start to simply choose to see the positive in something, we will start to get that effect out of it. So remember that everything in life is fundamentally neutral. We tag the meaning onto it as to what things mean, and then we get that reflection in our life. So when it comes to the prior experiences that we've had, if we can take those experiences and we can simply choose to see them from a new point of view, that will be what changes the kind of power it has over us to begin with. So remember that every time we remember something, we take it out of the memory banks, we look at it, we change the memory, and then we put it back. Take it out of the memory banks, look at it, see it from a positive point of view, and some type of positivity that could have come from it, even if it's you learn more about yourself, you learn more about other people you're around, you learned what not to do. Those perspectives then allow you to change that memory, to put it back into the past so that it doesn't have such emotional charge over you, so that you can then be who you prefer to be. So this is something that I've used also with every negative situation I've been in. And honestly, the most negative situations I've been in have been the ones I've learned the most from, and the ones that eventually led to the most amount of positivity. So it's almost like even though there was that dip, eventually it allowed me to get to a point of understanding more about myself and then to pushing through those barriers. Now, the third way I have for you involves what is called NLP. I've shared this technique before, but it's just so powerful for this. So remember that when we look at that memory, we bring it back in front of us, we take it out of the memory banks. What we can also do is use this NLP technique where we look at that memory, we envision exactly what happened, but what we decide to do is we decide to change it to something that's much more light, that's much more disassociated. And what we could do, for example, is take a negative memory, we could make it black and white in our mind, we could make it a cartoon, we could make the people sound like chipmunks, we could make it so many different variables, but you can make it funny, you can make it not so heavy. And as you do that, using that technique of visualization and making it a cartoon, you start to create space. Even as you make it black and white, you create space so that it's harder for you to connect to it. That then takes a lot of the emotion out of it, takes a lot of the charge out of it, so that when you put it back in the memory bank, it's less likely to project anything back to you that will project out into your future. So you can do that by playing it backwards, you can do it by blanking it black and white, you can put your favorite like Family Guy type hysterics into it to make it something that's just more funny to you. Now, that's also a powerful technique. Realize that letting go is just one of the most powerful things you can do. Letting go by letting go of the emotional charge, by simply making that a decision. It can be as simple as a decision. I decide to let this go. I decide to not associate and to think of those memories so much. That intention alone can be so powerful. So remember, all you have to do is simply forgive, decide to learn one positive thing from that negative situation, and also you can use that NLP technique to create the disassociative effect with it. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste. All right, bye.